Uh-oh. Is Diablo IV a dead game? Oh my god.
People are done with Diablo 4. There's a million Reddit posts about quitting the game because there's nothing to do. Almost no one on my friends list seems to play Diablo 4 anymore. And a lot of big content creators have pretty much moved on from what I've seen. On my level...
Context. A lot of people were streaming Diablo 4 because it had drops. And because the drops ended, people stopped streaming it because it... there's like a positive feedback loop where people stream the game and get more viewers, so they keep streaming it and they keep getting more viewers. But like the drops go away and less people are streaming it and also less people are watching it, and it's like a vicious circle thing too. Mount subs too, yeah, definitely. So that's a big reason. I would say also, like, I don't think that Diablo 4 is fundamentally a seasonal game. It is a fundamentally seasonal game. And whenever people, like, if you compare, like, how many people were playing PoE 1 month after the league was over, or the league had been released, I think not a lot. And you see a ton of people moving on past that. So I don't think that in itself is indicative of the game being bad.
Level 100 Druid, I can't think of a single reason to log in. I mean, I hardly wanted to log in to even make this video, and it's sort of a downer, to be honest. To top it off, the prospect of creating any sort of alternate character seems pointless when we're less than 2 weeks away from making another new character for Season 1.
Right.
Why don't I have anything to do on my Druid? Well, it's because
do you want them to give you something to do? Do you want them to just, like, create a bunch of, like, things that you have to farm for the sake of farming them, like dailies? Like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that. It's okay to finish the game. That's fine.
Farmed best in slot gear a long time before ever hitting level 100. My loot...
I mean, again, like, I have to say, this guy's level 100. He farmed out his best in slot gear. Can't you just throw in the towel and say, hey, guys, I had a good time. It was fun. See you in Season 1, that's it. Like, I played the game enough, right? I mean, fuck. I don't know. I find these complaints to be, they're so weird to me.
Grind was over by the time I was level 85. And that is the massive problem that is plaguing Diablo 4's late game content. I don't know who tested this. I don't know who signed off on the system. I don't know how it got past all the reviews for Diablo 4. I do not know how after years of development, this is what we were left with. Let me show you guys why it's bad. So the power of an item uses a breakpoint system that determines the tier that the potential range of stats can possibly be when they are rolled on an item. The final breakpoint is item power level 725. Basically, any item with a higher eye power level can roll the exact same affix amounts as an eye power 725 item can. So a 725 item and an 845 item could have identical affix rolls on them, which is like the whole part of the system that's broken. The only exception to this rule is that weapon damage increases or the resists on jewelry goes up, or the armor value increases. Like the very basic stats of the item can go up, but the affix themselves stay the same. 725, 820, doesn't matter. The affixes and the amounts that they can roll are identical. The only exception to this rule apparently is for plus life and plus thorns, which actually do continue to scale with the item power level.
Is that true? I never heard of that.
Regardless, this kind of makes the whole sacred / ancestral item thing completely worthless, but that's a whole different discussion. To help this make sense, here's an example for you. I have multiple Hunter Zenith rings here. I have a sacred 632 item power level and a sacred 701. As you can see from the roll ranges listed on the items, both could be identical in stats, even though they are 69 item power levels apart. Only the small plus to resistances number is higher on the higher item power version. I also have a 705 sacred version that I upgraded past the final breakpoint of 725 item power level, which now suddenly makes it fit into the ancestral tier of upgrades.
Right, so the numbers
I could have done this
up
with the 701 ring as well,
you can.
which I found at level 58,
726.
pushing it past the 725 mark actually re-rolls the entire ring's stats.
Yeah.
Now imagine if I got some god rolls. At level 58, I would have managed to get a nearly best in slot ring. I don't want this. This should...
I mean, have you guys ever gotten an item in like PoE that you used until like late red maps? I have. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's so cool whenever that happens. Yeah. I see what he's saying. And I think that if he's making an argument for another breakpoint, like an 800 eye level breakpoint, I could follow along with that. Sure.
Shouldn't be possible. I want my items and my character to grow in power all the way up to level 100, not just stop dead in its tracks because of some stupid item power mechanics that they created. There's a reason people are saying they hit a wall, because they literally did. You're rolling on best in slot gear in your 50s. Another quick example is these Tempest Roar helmets that I have.
I think that for a lot of the people that play the game, they're probably okay with that, because I think that Diablo IV, the life cycle of the season, I think that Diablo IV is engineered for the life cycle of a season for an average player to be 50 to 100 hours. I don't think it's engineered to be 200 or 500. I think it's made this way on purpose. Because Diablo IV is a casual, it's Babby's first ARPG. It's not super complex. It's not this massively, like, complicated game. Coming from Blizzard, it's co-op? Well, I think so. 50 hours in 3 months is short as fuck. Yeah, I mean, I can see that for sure. Aren't the seasons 3 months long? I think that's quick. I think that the way that a lot of people play seasons is they play the season a lot for the first week or two, and then they play it casually for another week or two after that, and then they stop playing it until the next season comes out. That's what I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that that's the way that the viewership reflects on Twitch. That's the way that the the player base reflects on like Steam Tracker for like PoE. I don't know. I think that's sometimes I even skip seasons. Yeah, I think this is normal, right? I play that way too. I'd rather have that than some dailies bullshit. That's the thing, right? Is like, this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried that people that want to play Diablo like a job will convince Blizzard to make it a job. I'm worried that Blizzard will add in a bunch of weeklies and dailies that give you like these large power increases to just keep you logging on a regular basis. Turn it into Lost Ark. I don't want to see that happen. I do not. Like, I don't want to have like a reason to log in or whatever. I just want a list of activities that I can achieve and complete and then move on with. 3 months, give everyone a chance? Yeah, definitely. If you're quitting after a few weeks, what's the big deal then for Blizzard coming out with more stuff for people who want to play more? It's not. I think it'd be great if they came out with more stuff for people that want to play more, but all I'm saying is that you have to understand why that's not happening. I get that. I totally understand. But my point is that it makes sense why it's not happening whenever you contextualize it around that Blizzard's audience isn't people that are going to be playing it super hardcore like that.
I've got 3 of them here, but these 2 of them are both 780 item power, okay? Both of these, 780 item power. You'll notice the armor is identical because that scales.
Yeah.
Except the one that I found at level 87 is superior to the one that I found at level 95. Mm-hmm. Why is this? Why are the roll ranges the same? I don't think that the 95 should just automatically be better, but it should have had a higher floor for the stat rolls and a higher ceiling. Like, let's say 10 to 17% for the damage while shapeshifted affects. Instead of them both rolling 7 to 14%, I think that the level 95 version should have a higher floor and a higher ceiling. The odds of you getting a better version increase that way. This system should be based off your level, and item power should scale with that, not using this bizarre iPower 820 maximum that they've come up with. Here's the system that I would use. I tried to visualize it so it would make a little more sense. Basically, as you level up, you create a sort of item power bubble. And this bubble would move forward by 10 each time you level up, all the way to 1,000 at level 100. This makes not only the base stats of the item better, but it slightly increases the floor and ceiling of the rolls for the affixes, basically what I just described a minute ago. Also, as the item power maximum increases by 10, it drags the back end of the bubble with it. This helps to eliminate another problem, which is getting trash tier items with low item power level when you're already way beyond those. When you're level 100 and you're getting sacred eye power 670 items, you're never going to use them, so why drop them? Here you are at level 1. You can get item power.
I definitely agree with that. I think that if you're level like 90 or 85 plus, you should not be getting sacreds. Like, there's no reason for you to be getting sacreds. Like, what is this? I will also say that if you're doing like nightmare dungeons that are like, if you do it, it should be based on mob level. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it should be based on your character level either. I do think it should be based. Like, if you're doing harder content, you should get better rewards. Like, the rewards you get shouldn't just be a participation reward from you just playing the game more.
Or 10. You hit level 2, it goes up to 20, 30, 40, 50. You get it, okay? So right now at level 5, you could get an item that drops between item power 10 and 50. As soon as you hit level 6, the item power 10s will disappear. As soon as you hit level 7, the item power 20s will disappear. So it keeps more of the gear relevant to your actual character, and you are feeling like you're unlocking or accessing more powerful items, because you are. You can now get something that's better every single time you level up. Now, early game, it's not nearly as much of a problem.
Yeah, because
no one
that's
really cares.
kind of how it works in
it's
early game.
It's this section in here, the last 4 rows, where it really starts to hurt.
Yeah.
Let's just put it at level 100. You know, this bar, you can change, I guess, and modify the bubble. You know, you could make it extend 10 levels, 15 levels, whatever you decide is balanced, or whatever I guess the developers decide. Items go up to 1,000. There's 100 levels. Multiply by 10. Ta-da! It's easy. But you could make the bubble go back 5 levels, 10 levels, whatever. But at level 100, I probably only want to see items in the range of level 900 to 1,000. So this kind of solves that.
Yeah, I think that I'm just looking at the numbers and thinking to myself, like, kind of, would this really make sense? I think that it should be, again, it should definitely be based off of like what content you're doing, because there's already a reward to leveling, and the reward for leveling is that you get paragon levels, and you can use paragons to make your character stronger. I think that it should be based off of, like, if you're doing Nightmare 60s, you should get better gear than if you're doing like nothing, right? Like Nightmare nothing. Like, I think that, for example, it would be really cool if there was, like, I don't know, like a percentage chance, like, let's say you're fighting monsters over level 100, and if you fight a monster that's over level 100, for every level that it is past over 100, it has a chance to roll for, like, effectively what would be tier 5 gear. Instead of, like, 4 tier gear, it'd be tier 5. I think that would be better than it just being based off of your level. Party play? Yeah, I do think that makes it complicated too. Yeah, Nightmare 100 gives 100% drops with no trash affixes of gear. Yeah, or something like that. I think there is a problem that there is no incentivization to really chase after high tier and like really, really well-rolled gear other than like a few challenges like Uber Lilith. Like, I think that one of the problems is that they don't have, like, there aren't really a lot of dedicated loot pools. You're not able to, like, kill a certain boss and get a certain item. You just have to continuously play the lottery and hope it drops. I think that's really boring and not fun. Yeah, then you make Nightmare scale infinitely, but cap the gear for 100. Past tier 100 increases the amount of item drops. I actually like being able to finish the tier and, like, not do it infinitely. But I think that they should have something that is the same difficulty of Nightmare 100 right now. Because nobody's speed clearing Nightmare 100s, and I think that's fine. Like, to the extent that, like, people can speed clear it, then yeah, they probably should make it a little bit harder. But other than that, I think it's all right. There's no reason to push Nightmare dungeons. Well, you're right. There's not. And I think that's a big issue. So yeah, I would be okay with this if it was based off of, like your actual skill level or your power level as a player.
Problem, right? We don't have to worry about getting these items over here when we're all the way over here. And also, we can't...
I don't think, another maybe hot take, I don't think it matters that you get the 600 items. I think the problem of what matters is that you don't get the 900 items, theoretically. And in PoE, you get tons of garbage. Like, you drop gray gear whenever you're doing a Delirium 100 map. You just don't see it because your item filter removes it. What they should have is they should have an in-game item filter where you can just simply turn off sacred gear. You just don't see any sacred gear at all. If it drops, you don't even see it.
Get these powerful items here when we're over here. I don't want a perfect rolled level 100 item at level 66. I want to go from level 99 and get to 1,000 and be like, wow, I can now get item power 1,000 items, and these are going to be, these are going to have a chance at being better than anything I've ever seen before in this game. That's what we need. That keeps the.
I'm actually okay with like there being kind of a ceiling on the level of gear that you can get. And even PoE has this, like, it's 84, right? For a lot of stats. And that's like the break point where you can't get any rolls higher than that. It's 86 now? Okay. Yeah, but gear goes past 86. Yeah, 85 and 86 is the best. 86 for elevated mods. Okay, yeah. Like, I remember back whenever I looked at it before, 100 is the max? Well, I know that, yeah, because you get the chess piece from the from like the cards. Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is the 100 doesn't matter. I think that it's okay that you can get a ceiling of gear, and like you can get maybe a little bit above that, and it's all about the same. I don't think that it's that big of a deal, and I also don't think that like for PoE, for example, PoE is a very different game than Diablo, because number one, PoE has a big trading atmosphere. And you're able to like buy and sell items. Now you can do that in Diablo, kind of, but you can't buy and sell legendaries. And there's also crafting. It's a very different game. So, like this is what I would like to see. I would just like to see if they were able to make it to where there was just like a little bit higher chance to get higher rolled gear if you do dungeons that have monsters over level 100. And I just think that should be the breakpoint, because that's what makes sense. Because that incentivizes nightmare dungeons, high-tier nightmare dungeons. Because I think a big problem is that doing harder content doesn't give you better rewards. And I think that is absolute poison for a game. Because whenever you have that in a game, people lose interest in progressing the character because it doesn't matter.
Hunt valid all the way to the end, and even then at level 100 you could try and deck your character out in eye power 1,000 items. None of this other junk that they have going on here. I always try to provide a solution if I think that there's a problem with something, and I hope the solution made some sense to somebody. I mean, they definitely need to fix the endgame chase somehow. This whole system could apply, and probably should apply, to nightmare dungeons as well, because they don't scale at all. Anyway, to challenge myself, they do scale a bit. Like whenever you do a Nightmare tier 60 dungeon, you pretty much only get ancestral gear. Whenever you're doing a Nightmare, 20 dungeon or something like that, you don't. Like the amount of ancestrals you get does go up, but it's not enough to justify the time investment. Resorted to playing a companion spec druid, which is the worst build in the entire game. Thanks for watching the video. Take care. Being the hardest boss in the game doesn't mean anything. Well, it doesn't give you anything that's meaningful. And I think that's what the issue is. Like, yes, you get a horse, but the horse doesn't... Like, if the horse was invincible from WoW, then it would be really cool, right? But it's not. It's not invincible. It's just a red horse. But there's already a red horse. Well, what the fuck? There's a way to farm up for an invite to Lilith that had a chance to give, like, a really good unique. Yeah, I get, like, invitations, the same as they have in PoE. Absolutely. I just think that the problem with Diablo 4's endgame is the fact that harder content doesn't give better rewards. And there's also, like, there's no break point in which doing a certain level of content will let you break through into getting higher rewards. And if you want to say that break point is tier 4 content, I think that's too early. It's just way too early. You need to have another breakpoint to where people can move in and actually get better gear. I got tier 4 on 62 on my druid, and I stopped at 70 because it was just boring. I'm not mad or anything. I'm just playing something else.
I don't understand why damage modifiers are on aspects in Paragon. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It definitely feels like they're missing a tier. Yeah, I think so too. I just think that they need a little bit more rewarding. Like, I think that it's not even they need harder content, because Nightmare 100 is hard to do, and so is Uber Lilith. They just need a little bit better itemization to achieve that, and they need better rewards. What if the breakpoint was just later, like level 90 instead of 70? This is really the truth, right? Is that if you want to look at this chart and you assume that like only 1 through 10, right, are like 1 through 100 here, like these are the only ones that are on the chart, Blizzard doesn't care about the people in these last two. Because most people that are going to play Diablo 4 are probably going to stop playing around 50 to 70. So that's the experience that they're engineering and they're trying to make as good as possible. And I think that's what the issue is. It's that Diablo 4 is catered towards a much more casual audience. And because it's catered towards a much more casual audience, people like this guy, and here's just the truth, right? Is that this guy makes tons of videos about Diablo 4. He did like the cow level stuff, all of that. He's doing the race to 100. I mean, this is a person who plays the game a lot. Like, this is a guy that's playing, he's probably putting in, at least probably back then, over 40 hours a week into the game. And I just don't think that that's the target audience Blizzard's trying to get. Like, they're not trying to compete with PoE for, like, these super hardcore ARPG players. Because I don't think that they can. Like, Blizzard can't make content as fast as Grinding Gear Games can, and they can't make it that complex either. And also, PoE has a ceiling. Like, PoE is never going to be as popular as Diablo 4 just because it's too complicated. Like, nobody's going to invest that much time into it. Like, I don't think that Escape from Tarkov is ever going to be more popular than Fortnite. That's just how it is. You had some great opinions about the culture. Well, fat phobia. Well, I don't know about that. That's something different. Imagine if Diablo 4 just stole Regal, Exalt, and Vol Orbs. It'd be fun slamming some gear. I think that they could do more with crafting, too. I'd like that a lot. Sylvus in chat if you want to ask. Oh, yes? Yeah, thanks for making the video. Like, I even though I think that Blizzard doesn't really give a shit about this stuff, I wish that they cared just a little bit more. Let me read this real quick. It's more of a blueprint, definitely agree. Nightmare Dungeons need to hold more value and scale. They have for nothing. Yes. Doesn't really good. Yes, too. Nightmare Dungeons for sure. Yeah. Yo, what's up, man? Thanks for making the video. Like, I do really hope that they do effectively like a tier 5, or at least like a... Like, imagine if, like, 800 was the next breakpoint. So, like, you could actually get gear that was above, like, Ancestral, and you could upgrade it and actually break that breakpoint and get gear that's even better. But, like, the only issue that I think that I have with that, or Blizzard would have with that, really, is that I think Blizzard wants people to be able to finish their gear, like, earlier. And I think that's, and this is, I think, the big issue, is that you're seeing a lot of people that are... like very serious ARPG players that are wanting Blizzard to make the game for them, but I don't think they're the target audience. That's what I think the truth is. Why? Casuals are going to quit at some point anyway. It doesn't matter if they quit. It matters if they buy the battle pass and play the seasons. You think the normies are going to play season after season? I think they'll probably play every 2 or 3 seasons. That's probably what happens. Every season they add new big content, they'll do it. Casuals won't come back every season infinitely. Yeah, but neither will hardcore players. Casuals never hit level 100. The players that stay are the ones that hit level 100. Endgame should be better. I think that the endgame should be better. All I'm saying is that with the endgame in mind, please understand that Blizzard has developed Diablo 4 to be a casual-friendly version of an ARPG. So their focus and their goals are not going to be making level 95 player feel better than a level 90 player. Their goals are going to be making players that are levels 1 to 70 feel like they're making progress with their character, and towards the end of that journey, they're able to, you know, like plateau out on gear. I think that you plateau out way too early. Way too early. I agree with you. I definitely think that's an issue. There's a video, by the way. Make sure to give it a like and give the guy a sub. I've watched a couple of his videos already. I actually appreciate videos that are thought out like this about actual systems in the game. They've already accomplished the game being fine until 70, so now they can focus on the rest of it. I think that's a very good point. Yeah, I think that you're right. But, like, I wonder if, like, in Blizzard's mind, and, like, I can't read their mind, so I'm not sure, they almost don't want to make a higher level of endgame because that will make casual players feel overwhelmed. It's like a weird, like, it's kind of like how Genshin Impact is. Apparently, like, Genshin Impact doesn't really have, like, a super omega endgame, but it's very popular because it caters to casuals. So that's what I'm concerned about. Genshin anxiety? I mean, it's a thing, though, right? I mean, like, fuck, it doesn't matter if it's stupid or not. It's just that there it is. Perfect odds for Uber unique should be from the Uber games and PoE. Listen, I've said this before. I will say it again. I've been very clear with this. Uber uniques should drop from Uber Lilith if you do her solo. If you beat the hardest boss in the game, I think that you should just get all the gear in the game. Make her more worth killing. Yes, and I don't... Giga challenge, Giga reward. And I think that for Nightmare 100 dungeons, it should be the exact same thing. PoE is an upside as well, where it's so easy to clear T16 maps in PoE. Yeah, it is. Or at least it is now. Maybe not 100% drop rate. Yeah, you have to farm her a few times, maybe. Agreed. Yeah, it's non-tradable gear. Who cares? Wouldn't the casual player base like that, though? I can't beat Lilith, so I can't get the rarest items in the game. Thanks, Blizzard. And that's probably why it won't happen. And I think that, honestly, I think that they could keep it like the lottery drop across the entire open world. It'd be totally fine. I would even be okay with them increasing it by a huge amount. But I think that they should also have a dedicated way to get it that's focused. So, like, it doesn't mean that you have to remove it from the casual players. You just have to give hardcore players a way to achieve it deterministically. This was always the problem that, like, Warcraft had with Titan Forging. If you are good enough to kill Uber Lilith, you deserve all the gear in the game. It's that simple.